told you, turn on those notifications. You never know when there's going to be a special start time. What's good, everybody? Welcome into Primetime Early Edge. Every single primetime NFL game, we will be here with a live episode of the sports betting brand of record. All of our odds are supplied by our good friends, our partners at the king of all sportsbooks, BetMGM. We are powered by Almighty SportsLine, the best value in all sports betting, and it's not even close. Now, if you watch the morning show, you've already cashed 2 tickets courtesy of our man Buckets, so you already got a little extra cash in your pocket to bet on tonight through your account at BetMGM. Synergy. But we've got 2 games tonight, which means we've got to get to it. Bring in the stars of the show. You know them. You love them. And look who we have here. The best in the business. The counselor is here. EC is here. My 5-tool player. AB is here. And Coach Phil McKagan is here. And before you type, where's Proppy? Where's Proppy? He's actually doing double duty tonight. He is currently on CBS Sports HQ. When he is done, he will click right over and he'll join. Is he on there, AB? Not yet?
Not yet. Not yet. What he is, we're just going to pop it up.
That'll be sweet. If he isn't, you've got some explaining to do. No, I'm kidding. All right, gentlemen, we got 2 games. Can we get started?
Yes.
Let's do it. All right. Now, game 1 tonight. And this was one of my picks of the week on CBS Sports HQ. I have been very public with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. It's currently at 5.5. It's been going up. The total is 44. As always, we start with Coach Phil's keys to the game. Coach Phil, start us off.
Yeah, so looking at this game, you got 2 2-0 teams coming to Tampa Bay. So, 3 weeks ago, who would have thought that this would be some type of premier matchup? But obviously, Tampa Bay's overexceeded expectations, and now we have ourselves an interesting football game. The first key to the game for Philadelphia is need to continue to run the football. They're second in the NFL with 178 yards per game, coming off DeAndre Swift's career high of 175 yards last week. The second thing they have to do is make sure we create explosive plays. We saw Devontae Smith get going. They need to get A.J. Brown a little bit more involved. All right. I saw a little frustration. Coach Sirianni huddled him up. They went right back to him. He scored a touchdown and got called back. We'll talk a little bit more about A.J. Brown and what he needs to do to get going. But this guy is a creature, and he's an unbelievable player. But you could see that there's a little frustration building right now, and he's looking to break out. Switching sides and going over there to Tampa Bay, Todd Bowles has an elite defense right now. All right, they're second in the NFL, averaging 50 rushing yards per game. All right, they did a great job getting to the quarterback. They had 6 sacks last week. They also had, I think Shaq Barrett had a pick 6 down there when they were backed up. That was awesome play, great effort by the defense. They had some guys questionable coming into it, but again, that defense is outstanding. Then looking at the offense, all right, with Tampa Bay, they've done a great job with Baker Mayfield. And I met with Dave Canales in the offseason. That's the offensive coordinator. He came over from Seattle, and one of his philosophies is a balanced attack, run and pass, and then most important thing that he talked about was taking care of the football. It appears that Baker Mayfield has bought into that philosophical belief by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They're doing a great job right now. They're balanced, and you can see Mike Evans has had an awesome resurgence right now at 171 yards and a touchdown. Godwin is who he always has been. And then the one thing you have to be careful of is he has a tendency to live a little bit dangerously. So with Hassan Reddick and Josh Sweat providing unbelievable pass rush and great pressure, it will create an interesting matchup for these 2 teams tonight.
I defy you to find another show that has that right there. I'll ask you one question very early in the show. Do you want to do the work? I didn't think so. Quacko says, Coach Phil, my fave, with a bunch of exclamation points.
I like
He's
that.
our favorite too.
How many exclamation points, Coach?
There's 5. You got 5 exclamation points.
That's big. 5 is big.
5 is big. Now, when you get to 8, that's EC's level. But 5 is good.
I will just say this, Coach Phil. I know that person very well who just posted that, and they are a very big fan of yours. Let me just say that.
That's literally what I just said, EC. That's what they wrote. I just said that.
But I know them quite well. I will just give that away.
Well.
They may run in the family, Coach Phil.
Oh my gosh. His brother is texting in the chat. Okay.
Only child.
He's not his favorite over his own brother.
Hey, no, you're close. I know who it is too, and you're close.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, Sia, you and I are, I guess, the only professionals on the show because I'm the one that clearly. Yeah. And Coach Phil just talked about Baker Mayfield. Sometimes he can be a little wild, but I think he's been playing pretty good through the first 2 weeks. And apparently you think tonight, and the Eagles defense has not been what it has been in the past. He could have a good game tonight. Start us off.
Yeah, I mean, I'll start here. I think the Eagles defense is formidable, but they're really formidable in the front seven, particularly the front four. And we know this Tampa running game, it's not great. Like Rachaad White is just not a guy that's going to give you really good yards per carry. There's really not much behind him in Tucker and some of those other running backs. So I really think whether it's a negative game script or a neutral game script, I think Tampa's going to have to throw the ball around a little bit. And we've seen that Baker Mayfield's able to do that. In week 2, he didn't have a ton of passing yards, but that was against the Bears, different kind of game plan, different kind of game script. In week 1 against the Minnesota Vikings, he threw for over 300 yards. Now, I'm not expecting that against the Philadelphia Eagles, but I am expecting him to have to throw the ball. And so I'm really looking at the over 226.5 passing yards. It's 229.5 in some places too. I still like it there. Once we get to 230, 231, I'd probably start backpedaling just a little bit. But the long and short of it is this Eagles secondary, it can be exposed. They do have some injuries. We know Avonte Maddox is out. We know Slay is going to be on the outside. We know Bradbury looks like he's going to be tracking Godwin, whether Godwin's in the slot or on the outside. But there's other weapons on this team too. K-Dot and Trey Palmer. Like he's going to have to throw the ball here if they actually want to be successful. So give me Baker's over.
Hey, the Vikings scored 28 against this defense. The Patriots scored 20. That's like any other team scoring 30, if you know what I'm saying. Mm-hmm. So leave it to EC, though, Sia. You give me one that I literally played while you were giving it out. Next level. Now, leave it to EC to find a play in this game that, I don't know. I got to say, I'm a little skeptical. EC, what do you got?
Well, first of all, I want to say this, Coach. I loved one of Proppy's plays that he's going to give out later. In fact, he had it on the website, and I had to post it after because I think it's a lock. So I'll let him give that out later. I won't ruin that. But for now, we're going to roll with Jalen Hurts over 37.5 yards for his longest completion at -120. So I went back to the start of last year, and he's done this in 11 of 20 games. So we're getting a little more than 50%. Tampa Bay is allowing the 9th highest yards per attempt. And their top cornerback, Carlton Davis, is dealing with a toe injury. So who knows how that's going to go. So AB does the no-fly zone usually. So I went and dug deep and found those AB graphics. And Jalen Hurts was 7th in deep passer rating last year. And the no-fly zone was non-existent on deep passes for him. He's attempted 8 throws of 20-plus air yards thus far this year. Only completed 2, but then 1 out of 4. All he needs one to go over 37.5. Last year, he averaged about 4 attempts of 20-plus air yards per game. We saw him air it out to Devontae Smith. I think it was twice last year. Last week, I'm sorry. We saw that A.J. Brown touchdown, which would have, I think, covered this or been real close, called back due to penalty on Rashad Penny since he couldn't block properly. I think we have another 50-yard touchdown tonight, and I actually think it's to A.J. Brown. So I'm feeling really confident in this. I think he might have 2 throws over 40 yards tonight, Coach. I think we hammer it. That's what I did.
So are you telling people to bet on 2 of these tonight?
No, I think you just bet. I mean, you only bet it once.
It was a joke. It was a joke.
Let me say, Coach.
My favorite part is as EC goes, he starts getting more confident in his pick, and he's like, you know what? There's going to be 3 of them.
Maybe 6.
Right. Carlton David is inactive tonight. So just for there's 3 guys on Tampa's defense that we were watching to see if they're going to play. Vita Vea's going. All right, we talked about Carlton Davis is out, and then Devin White's going. So to EC's point, that does favor the pass game of the Eagles.
And remember, Coach Phil, before the season, Coach and I made a bet, and I will reference this every time I can when it comes to the Eagles. We had a bet. We had 2 bets. Who's going to go further, Eagles or Chiefs? We already know who's going to win that. But who's going to finish higher in the MVP voting, Jalen Hurts or Patrick Mahomes? Patrick Mahomes too busy dealing with Taylor Swift stuff. We're going Jalen Hurts, big game tonight. Eagles offense looks the part. Jalen Hurts rockets up the MVP early voting here right next to Tua.
Phil, can I just thank you for actually adding to the show instead of taking away from said show? All right. Now, normally on a primetime game, we've got the no-fly zone. But tonight, there is a reason why we do not have the no-fly zone. AB, you're up.
Yes, sir. Look, and EC just alluded to it, right? Look, bad data in both games. One, Jalen Hurts with the run and the way that they attack, it's just not good information to have out there. And the sample size for Baker Mayfield, just not enough. right? So I didn't want to put anything out there that would be bad information. And then the next game that we'll talk about later on.
AB, real quick.
Yeah.
I hate to interrupt your flow. Can you move your camera up just for 2 seconds?
I thought I saw Proppy.
Oh, hey, Mike in the chat. Why don't you show up on time? I said, nobody text me, where's Proppy? And what does Mike M do? Where's Proppy? There's Proppy right there. He'll be here in like 5 minutes. Let's relax. Starting with myself. AB, I apologize for stopping your flow. You may continue.
No, that was necessary. We need to do it. And in fact, I'm going to continue the picks just like this because we need to see our man here. Now, like I said, bad data, right? Small sample size for Baker. Didn't want to put anything bad out there.
Smart.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, that's smart. Not to have the empirical data. Like it's a smart decision. Just if you don't have the metrics to make an educated, informed decision, and probabilities and all those things, it's wise just not to have the graphic.
Absolutely. I agree. And didn't want to put anything bad out there in the next game with the Bengals. No clue what's going on. But we are still playing these turnovers, but we're doing it in a little bit of a different way. So we're going to play Eagles-Bucs total field goals, all right, over 3.5 at plus 110. But we're also going to play Eagles-Bucs total turnovers in the game at over 2.5 at minus 120. And I will tell you why. All right. The Bucs defense currently right now ranks number 2 in the NFL in regards to turnover differential. They've only played 2 games. You know what? Number 4, the Eagles. All right. These defenses are good and they can create turnovers. So we now play it in the entire game over 2.5. Anything counts. Interceptions, fumbles, you name it. Any team, however we get to 3, we get it. So yeah, Phil, I agree. Didn't want to put bad info out there. Absolutely.
Todd in the chat says, why y'all keep interrupting AB?
You know what? Look, sometimes, usually, it's a good thing. Just stop me. Yeah, that's a smart play call.
Ralph Fitz says, Chris Godwin or A.J. Brown, standard PPR. Counselor, go.
Sorry, I was just reading a report from Ian Rappaport. It does look like Joe Burrow is starting, so I wanted to put that out there. Give me the fantasy question one more time. It was Chris Godwin or A.J. Brown, standard PPR. Listen, I like both of them. It's a really tough choice because I think Godwin, believe it or not, is going to get maybe 1 or 2 more targets, but I'd go with A.J. Brown. There's just too much splash upside with him, especially with Carlton Davis being out, and especially with the squeaky wheel narrative, what we saw last week when he complained on the sideline. He got the next 3 throws. It didn't really work out for him from a statistical standpoint last game, so it's probably going to work out for him this game.
Maybe, go.
Yeah, real quick. I'll just say the squeaky wheel of what Sia just spoke about when A.J. Brown was here in Nashville, in Tennessee. Look, every time that he went to Mike Vrabel, publicly during the week saying, get me the damn ball, he usually got the damn ball. And I bet Sirianni's going to do the same thing. So, yeah.
Easy, go.
Why are we so hyped on Baker Mayfield right now and everything Baker's so great? He's played the Bears and the Vikings, who are not good defenses. This is a different level with Philly here. Listen, I think A.J. Brown is going to go nuclear tonight. I think this one is a no-brainer. Now, Godwin will get some points, but A.J. Brown goes nuts.
Okay. I mean, you're clearly questioning the counselor's play. You're clearly questioning my money line play.
Yes.
No, I don't have the money line here. That was buckets. You're clearly questioning my Bucs +5 play. Mm-hmm. Why are you doing that to yourself, EC?
Because I feel confident. I think the Eagles show us tonight that they are the best team in the NFL. And maybe I'm wrong, but I feel confident that they win this game by at least a touchdown.
I feel confident. I feel confident that you're not smart on this play. So if you think they're going to win by a touchdown, and Counselor, I apologize for him insulting you. You're the one of the best of all time, and he's insulting.
If I may, and I'm not even really going to push back too much here. So, like, Baker could have a bad game and still hit his yardage total. Like, I mean, he could have 2 interceptions. Mm-hmm. That's going to help me. The Eagles scoring and Carlton Davis being out and A.J. Brown going off, that's going to help me because it's going to force a negative game script even more and just passing all the way through the fourth quarter. So it doesn't really matter to me whether Baker has a good game or not, or whether Tampa has a good game or not. The negative game script is really what I'm calling for ultimately.
Mm-hmm.
Phil, what are your thoughts on all this nonsense that's being thrown around right now?
I thought EC actually made a decent point about the strength of competition that was stated with the Bucs. But again, we're looking at the Eagles and the opportunities that they're going to have. And I mean, I'm kind of siding with the EC on this one, to be honest with you.
Thank you, Coach.
Everyone, please continue to drop your fantasy questions in the chat. Clearly, no, I'm kidding.
Oh, it drives me crazy when I think I'm going to get the answer that helps me, and it just slaps me right in the face.
Hey, Coach, do you want a showdown? You want a showdown tonight? I'll give you 6.5. I don't need 5.5. I'll give you 6.5.
Make it 7.
No, I want the hook. So give me 6.5.
You said at least a touchdown, so give him the 7.
That's what you said. You said
a touchdown is 6 points. A touchdown is 6 points. So there you go.
Ooh.
Do we need to roll back the tape on what
a touchdown is 6 points.
Well, that's
6,
true. That's
6.5 is a good compromise, Coach. Show it. Cue the music.
AB, hit the freaking music. Let's go!
It's gonna be a showdown.
And my man or woman Reno in the chat says, cry, Eagles, cry. That's right, Reno. Me and you, simpatico. Cry, Eagles, cry. Ben's just laughing at our nonsense. He's just in the chat laughing like everybody else. Oh, EC. Oh, EC. And you know what I said? What did I say? Can anybody remind me what I said on a recent show about the dings that I like so much in my life? Can anybody tell? I think you guys were on that show, right?
Oh, yeah.
And I told Proppy the same exact thing. And do you know I got that ding about late quarter? Didn't I, Counselor? Yeah.
You did. Yeah. The Venmo ding. I'm very familiar with it as well. And it's nice. It's nice to hear. I turned my ringer on. I never have my ringer on. I turned it on specifically for the Venmo ding.
There's a reason I don't go up against you, Sia. I think I'm 0 for 1 against you. I keep my records because I know it's an automatic ding for you and anti for me. At least, Coach,
can I just make one
chance.
more point? I don't want to belabor the point too much here on Eagles-Bucs.
No, continue.
Like, here's the thing. The one pushback I'm going to give on the Eagles, and obviously they're the superior team. They should cover this line, even though, they're going on the road. Tampa is a primetime dog. Like, that's a really good spot for any team in that situation. The problem with the Eagles through 2 weeks is the offense under new offensive coordinator Brian Johnson looks very disjointed. This isn't the Shane Steichen offense anymore. It's Brian Johnson, and they look flat out confused on certain plays. And I'm talking pre-play and post-play. It has not been a good look for the Eagles offensively. Yeah, in spurts because they have so much talent. But I don't know that Brian Johnson has a handle on this offense yet. So that would be the only pushback I'd give to the square play, let's call it what it is, of the Philadelphia Eagles -5, -5.5.
And that's why the Counselor is 1B, EC. That's why my man is 1B. Go ahead, Philzy.
This is the last week you give the offenses like that grace period where they can be productive and efficient and effective. I mean, we're getting to be in October, the next time the Eagles play. So, I mean, this is really it. I mean, this is to see his point, like this is one thing I'm in particular going to be watching closely tonight is just the efficiency and effectiveness of that Philadelphia offense.
Yeah, they scored. We talked about it this morning on the show. All right, the Philadelphia Eagles offense, when it's at its maximum, potential, is scoring in the first quarter. They scored over 140 points in the first quarter of games last season. You'll be able to tell by the second drive. Like, they are that aggressive in how they approach it. Watch it on the first drive. We've spoken about that, where Jalen Hurts will test you deep, and then he'll test you around the end running himself, make you make a decision, and whichever one you do, they're going to attack you the other way. So literally the first 2 drives of what Sia and Coach Phil have been saying, 100%. You'll be able to see this right out of the gate.
Yeah, and here's one thing, though, AB, about the Eagles offense. So they started out on a Sunday, a rainy Sunday against Bill Belichick, the greatest of all time in scheming defenses, right? Then they played a short week 3 days later, essentially, at home against Minnesota. Not a ton of time, I would assume, Coach Phil, for adjustments. And now they've had a mini bye, so 10 days off since their last game, or 11 days, something like that. You would think a lot of the issues the ship would be righted now. Now, if they are still struggling after this week, then we can have that conversation that maybe Brian Johnson, right. Yeah.
Agreed.
Then we'll have that conversation because I will have been right when none of that happens tonight, ladies and gentlemen, and the Bucs went on the field. I'm tired of this nonsense talk. Nonsense. But, gentlemen, we saw 3 more plays coming from Proppy, so I'm going to wait to give those out when he gets here. But there's a lot of props that we could play tonight. We've been talking money line, totals, and all that kind of stuff. But what about the names? Counsel, let's start with you, and I'm going to go around the block. And let's start on the Eagles side because Kate Otten is a play that Proppy has, but he plays for the other team. There's only 3 names that we need to focus on: Devontae Smith, A.J. Brown, and Dallas Goddard. Of those three, Counsel, which do you think has the biggest game?
It's a good question. I mean, honestly, I hate to go sort of the standard route here, but it does feel like it's an A.J. Brown game. I mean, Dallas Goedert, from a reception standpoint, I would probably look at overs in that department as opposed to yards. I think Devontae Smith, you could look at his yardage. He's always good. Maybe his under in receptions, but his over in his yardage. I mean, that's where I would kind of be leaning, because I don't know that he gets a ton of targets, but I do think he's usually good for like a longest reception prop. Probably that's where I'd settle. I do think AJB gets the volume though. So if I was going to look to an over, again, this is kind of like a square play. It's not a play I'm making official by any means, but it would be AJ Brown's over yardage.
It's so funny. You must have watched me on CBS Sports HQ earlier today, Counselor, because I gave out Dallas Goedert over 3.5 catches. Next level NFL capping right here. We all know this. But it's interesting that you say A.J. Brown for some reason, and I can't figure it out. Coach Phil, I'm going to come to you and then the other two guys. Why do we overlook Devontae Smith when through the first 2 weeks he's looked like 1A, not A.J. Brown?
Right, because just physically, when you look at A.J. Brown, I mean, this guy looks the part. I mean, he's like 230 pounds. He's 6'2". I mean, he's got that big contract. That's a big part of it. And he hasn't had a 100-yard receiving game in 7 straight games, which is a career long. And then Devontae Smith, I believe, has gone 5 of his last 8 games have been over 100 yards. So if you're looking at sheer productivity, you're looking at Devontae Smith as a guy who's going to be the one who's going to be most targeted and most yards and all those things, just from what statistically has happened over the last 7 or 8 games. But, when you're looking at A.J. Brown, you just wonder, is there a lot of noise, external variables that you're hearing? The big contract that you're playing up to it. I've been through this with a bunch of receivers over the years, the fantasy implications. People are yelling at you for not doing this, not doing that. And then you have the media, people are saying that his guy's lost. He's not. Look at this guy. And he hasn't lost anything at all. It's just the reality is sometimes the ball doesn't come to you. All right. And they got a lot of options. They're trying to establish the run. There's a new coordinator. And sometimes, you just don't get the football over the first 2 weeks. So, I like A.J. Brown a lot. Again, I like both these receivers, but again, Devontae Smith has not been getting the love that he deserves with that type of production.
So let's talk about his numbers, EC, based off that explanation. Over 4.5, but it's very, very juicy. Over -170. It almost feels like it just needs to tick up to 5.5. And then 60.5, to Phil's point, he's had over 100 more than half the time. So why, EC, is it still at 60.5?
Well, Coach, I have to admit I'm biased. So I'm playing AB right now in the SportsLine Fantasy Football League.
Oh, no.
We're tied going into tonight. He has Jalen Hurts and I have Devontae Smith. Not looking good for me. Yeah, good job, AB. Congrats. With that said, I think the Eagles are going to go bonkers against this Buccaneers secondary. Without Smith, without Carlton Smith, what are they going to do? Carlton Davis, what are you going to do? How are they going to guard A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith? I think both hit their yardage props. I think A.J. Brown's is generous in the low 70s, and I think Devontae Smith in the 60s. I mean, it takes basically one deep shot to hit my bet and to hit Devontae Smith or A.J. Brown. I think we could see at least 2. I think they're going to play. It's going to be a field day for them, Coach.
I'm so glad you said long shot, because AB, flip side, other side of the coin, Mike Evans, 4.5, same number as Devontae, 60.5 -122. I already played his longest catch, and it's around 32.5 at a lot of books right now. Do we like Mike Evans to go off tonight?
Yeah, we do. Look, I'm going to leave myself on here because I want to hear Phil's thoughts after this. Yeah, Phil spoke it perfectly. Baker does play aggressive, right? Woke up feeling dangerous. He's going to press you a couple times. Sometimes it might be smart. Sometimes it might not. But he's going to do it, right? And you're going to do it. It's Mike Evans, right? He's going to get all the attempts in the world, right? And Mike Evans is generally going to bring it down. So, yeah, I wouldn't fade anything in regards to it. It really is going to amount to how many attempts we see Baker put up. Is he putting closer to 30 or is he putting closer to 38, right? That's the type of game script. If he's closer to 38, Mike Evans is going to go off, right? Now, number 2, going back to what they were talking about, I saw this at the end of AJ's time in Nashville, that sometimes on the field, the biggest impact that AJ Brown makes is distracting your secondary because you have to pay him so much attention, and that leaves other guys open, whether it could be Devontae, whether it could be anyone else going down the chart. Watch tonight the outside 9 routes and then crossing routes across the middle, especially with Devontae. He could take those crossers a 7-yard and make it 50, right? But yeah, to answer your question, Mike Evans, of course, man. I don't fade him until they tell me to fade him, and nothing says fade him. Yeah.
So, Phil, I'm coming to you, standby counselor. Would you think it's going to be a Mike Evans night or a Chris Godwin night tonight, Phil?
So I like Evans because of the size. I mean, that's the one advantage that you have, the height. He's a 6'5" player. The issue when you're talking about both of the wideouts, in a vacuum, you think, yeah, they're going to get their numbers because these are dominant players, and we understand that. But the problem is the pass rush. I mean, that really could be an issue. So can Baker see him with the pocket collapsing? So there's just a lot of unknown variables when it comes to, the efficiency of this pass game, just from a protection standpoint. And then also, the matchup, I love Mike Evans and I love Godwin. I mean, I think Slay's a good football player, but again, that height and the physicality, I like both of those receivers if it's just straight man with no pass rush. But the reality is there's probably going to be a pretty significant pass rush. So I'm just weary about, all of the pass game statistics that could be available for the Bucs.
Real quick. Yeah, Coach, sorry, real quick. No. One thing in regards to what Phil just said, he absolutely nailed it. The next thing to pay attention to in this game, offensive line holding penalties, because you've got two defensive fronts that can really be aggressive and get after you. And if you're seeing one side holding, offensive holding is one of the most punished penalties in the NFL. 10 yards will kill you. It'll kill a drive immediately. So it's something to pay attention to.
Yeah, it's 82% chance of punting after a holding penalty. 82%.
Wow. I know it's the next game, but I think a lot of lineups have to be set up before the first game. So, Counselor, Puka or Chase in fantasy tonight?
That's really tough. I mean, you're sitting basically some people's number one draft pick for Puka Nacua. Now, Nacua is going to get his targets. I would still defer to Chase and his upside, even if Burrow, who looks like he's going to start and play all 4 quarters, even if he doesn't, Browning's going to be looking to Chase first. Nacua is going to get the yardage. I would just play the upside game with Chase, unless you're in a situation where you only need 5 or 6 points. If that's all you need on Monday Night Football, go with Nacua because he's going to get it. But if you're looking for some upside, you need some points, I think you got to go Jamar Chase.
If you're new to this brand, whether it's the nighttime shows or the morning shows, I know what you're asking yourself right now. Do they plan these questions out? No, my guys are just that good. I have no question going to Counselor for anything. He's going to have an answer, just like that one. It's next level. Turn on your notifications. Now, we've got a few more to get to. We're approaching the bottom of the hour. It is 6:30 in the East. The first game starts at 7:15. We will be done by then. We'll get to game number 2 in just a second. We just got to see if Proppy's going to come in with his dress shirt on tonight, or if he's
I hope he does. He looked nice.
He did look nice. I hope he does too. A few more things to talk about, because some of the more popular bets we like to feed into: team totals, quarterback props, running back props. We've touched none of that yet. So, AB, let me come to you first, then EC, I got one for you. Jalen Hurts, we played his longest completion, but his number is 238.5, attempts 31.5, completions 20.5, and if you think he's going to have a big night in the air, his touchdown over 1.5 is only -106. Your thoughts, AB?
You know what? I would play attempts, and here's why. That Tampa Bay rush defense is real. It's good, right? Now, the Eagles have a hell of a run offense, right? Like, that's going to be a matchup. But if Philadelphia can't get going on the ground, they will throw, and they will throw more and more. And when you have a game, if it's the same way on the opposite side with Baker, the clock slows down. Think about last night, the game that we watched. The first quarter took 2 hours, right? Because it was throwing. So you're going to get way more pass attempts. I would look at attempts with Jalen Hurts. That's where I'd go.
All right, very good. So let's go to the ground. EC, I'm coming to you, because Jalen Hurts, his number's around 44.5, and we always kind of look at that because they call run plays for him, and he's a great scrambler of the ball. DeAndre Swift, 32.5, Kenneth Gainwell, 34.5. So this is an interesting, fascinating situation where you got 3 guys. You feel like you're rolling the dice on which one to pick. Which one do you think has a good game tonight?
Well, I think that number for Swift just seems low, coming off 178 or whatever he had in the last game. That just seems really low to me, and I would probably take a chance at that. I mean, I always like playing Hurts rushing yards, but I'm going to avoid that one for now. I would play DeAndre Swift at that number, but the play I would have, Coach, is, and I gave it out last Thursday, was Jalen Hurts to score a rushing touchdown, because when they get inside the 2-yard line, with the exception of the last touchdown that Thursday night when the game was all but over, Jalen Hurts. They do that little rugby thing, and he can't stop it. I mean, nobody in the NFL has been able to stop it. So him to get a touchdown at like -110 or -115, that might be your safest bet on the ground if you're going to bet anything.
Okay. Very, very good. Yes, Counselor, go.
Well, keeping what EC just said in mind, I mean, it's very likely in this game, especially without Carlton Davis, that you might get a PI call, and that's going to lend itself obviously to the, like, in the end zone, and that's going to lend itself to a Jalen Hurts QB sneak touchdown as well. The one thing I do want to point out about the Tampa defense, especially the secondary, like, let's not forget, last week they played the Bears, and the Bears were competitive in that game, and Justin Fields threw for over 200 yards. So this Tampa secondary, I think with Carlton Davis, actually made the Bears and Justin Fields look pretty competent. We saw what they did against Kansas City yesterday. So I just want to throw that out there for just, you know, whether it's fantasy or otherwise betting, there is a possibility that they abandon the run because they can just go off with the pass. So what EC was saying about Devontae Smith going over his over and AJ Brown going over his over and Jalen Hurts for that matter, I think it's all in play.
Leave it to the counselor to make me want to hedge. Thank you very much, Sia. I hadn't really thought about that angle of the game yet.
It's just the other side of the coin because we still have the Brian Johnson argument as well. Listen, I'm just trying to propose all facets of what we might see.
No, that's why you're you got to raise your hand. You can't just jump in, EC. Phil, you can do whatever you want. EC, you got to raise your hand. Go,
Is this class again? It's like, I feel like I'm back in high school.
Is this your first show?
I don't think so.
What do we do, Counselor? Thank you.
We raise our hand or something like this.
Yeah.
But just want to point out, Coach, my over 37.5 completion prop, Bears hit that on the first pass of the game last week against the Buccaneers. DJ Moore caught a 42-yarder, I think, on the first play of the game. Look for the Eagles to go deep early, and as Counselor just said, often.
Phil, go.
Just real quickly, Vidi Vea being up with Devin White, they're the second-ranked rush defense. So, I mean, I think that's why those numbers look so low is because people have not been able to run the ball against that front.
I cannot believe I'm getting ready to do this, but I'm going to play. What was that number that you had, EC, on longest completion for Jalen Hurts?
37.5.
All right. I just played for the very first time in my career an EC play live on the show.
What, you didn't parlay it with something?
Yeah, come on, Coach. What are we
Unacceptable.
doing? I got to play in game 2 that's worth a parlay with the Hurts prop.
Line of the night. Line of the night. All right. Clearly, Proppy's taking a shower and doing his hair. So I'm going to give out his 3 plays because we got to get to game number 2. So here's the 3 plays that Proppy is on. Cade Otton over 25.5 receiving yards, minus 115. I think it's up close to 30 right now, but I'm sure he'd still play it there. Rashad White under 48.5 rushing yards, minus 115. And he loved A.J. Brown. Is this the play you're talking about, EC, that you also loved? He loved A.J. Brown.
I actually love that one too, but it was the Cade Otton one, Coach. I mean, listen, he's gotten 8 catches on 9 targets thus far, but here's why. Philadelphia has allowed the second most receiving yards to tight ends through 2 games. Hunter Henry, 5 for 56. Mike Gesicki, who's the backup for the Patriots, 3 for 36. TJ Hawkinson last week, 7 catches, 66 yards. The middle of the field is being exploited against those Eagles linebackers. Nakobe Dean, I believe, is hurt. Avonte Maddox hurt. There is a weakness in the middle of the field. And that's why I kind of like Godwin over Mike Evans as well. But Cade Otton at 25.5 or anything under 35 to me seems like a really good value.
All right. Right now it's around 29. So hell just froze over again. 2 live plays from EC's analysis right here on the show. So those are the 3. A.J. Brown over 68.5. He's in the 70s now. And I'm sure that Proppy would still be good with that. And I'm seeing myself twice. When Proppy comes on, we'll actually ask him if you guys want to hold off on that. But I would encourage you to get the plays in right now. Anybody else have anything else on game number 1? Are we good?
I'll just say I have a pretty strong lean to Chris Godwin over 53.5 receiving yards. It's around minus 120, minus 125. I think some of those shorter area routes that he runs relative to like Mike Evans, for example, because of the pass rush, I think those are going to be very much in play, whether he's on the outside or in the slot. And I would say the same about Cade Otton, who, by the way, I stole this from Greg Cosell because he had the video out earlier today, but you'll see Cade Otton potentially in the backfield. Not just the lone person in the backfield, but one of 2 guys in the backfield where you'll see him chip and then go out on his route, which actually happened last week. And obviously they're going to need some extra protection there. So if he's lined up in the backfield, if he's there for extra protection, have no fear because he's still involved in the route.
What?
Let's go. Let's go. I heard you guys are having a party, Coach.
We are now. We are now. Oh, that's the only way you can interrupt Counselor's flow. Real quick, anything else on that, Sia?
No, it's actually a perfect segue to Proppy's play on K. Dotton. It feels like it was like magically set up, even though I had no idea he was coming in.
Amazing.
It was meant to be.
Literally right at the end of our discussion on game number 1. I just gave your 3 plays out, but I would love for you just to rather quickly, but don't speed through it. Give us your explanations for all 3 because the guys love the plays. They absolutely love them. You can go, Proppy. Yeah.
All right. Yeah. Starting with Cade Otton, over 25.5 receiving yards. This guy has a 97% snap share week 1, 98% in week 2. That is elite route participation. This guy is on the field for basically every single Baker Mayfield dropback. That is very rare at the tight end position. The Eagles have also been a significant tight end funnel, giving up the second most yards to the position through 2 weeks of the season. That's why I love him to go over 25.5 receiving yards tonight. Then we're going to go A.J. Brown, over 68.5 receiving yards. I talk about this term quite a bit. Squeaky wheel gets the grease. I think that's going to be A.J. Brown tonight. All of the metrics look really good on A.J. Brown, despite him not popping yet on the box score. Like him to have a very big game, especially with no Vita Vea tonight for the Bucs. The Bucs have also been unable to generate quick pressure. That is going to allow Jalen Hurts time for those routes to develop down the field for A.J. Brown to get open. He's definitely going to take some shots down the field. I like A.J. Brown's chances of catching a couple of those passes and making some big plays, so I absolutely love him there. And then last but not least, we're going to fade running back Rachaad White, under 48.5 rushing yards. He has been the NFL's least efficient runner by pretty much every single metric possible. Meanwhile, the Eagles defense has been phenomenal, especially up front against the rush. So 3rd in EPA allowed per rush, 1st in run win grade. The 2 tackles, their interior game wreckers, and Jalen Carter, Jordan Davis, 2 teammates from Georgia, have both been phenomenal this season, both with PFF grades over 90. So we're seeing the NFL's least efficient running back playing against arguably the league's best run defense. I love fading Rachaad White tonight as well.
Oh, Chill Will says, that's the most epic stuff I've ever seen. That's what we do here at the early edge. We have entrance music. Oh my God. Oh, it's I get a little PTSD when I hear that music sometimes. I've told you guys a story. He kicked me one time in the back so hard I couldn't breathe for like 25 seconds. The actual Stone Cold, the real Stone Cold did that. But I'm still breathing. I'm still here in 2023, so it's all good. He
left you a potato.
Yeah, he certainly did. By the way, Proppy, we're all trying to figure out, because you know what we did when you were just on HQ? We turned the camera up, and we got to watch you in your collared shirt, all looking fresh. We're like, is he going to come to the show like that? But you took the time to change.
I did. I don't know. My guy EC, they're known for wearing the button-ups. I couldn't join. I didn't want to rain on the button-up parade. One day you'll see me in a suit on this very stream, though.
Do not tease me. Do not tease me on that. All right, so that's game number 1, which we will absolutely slay it. And I love a little 28-24 Eagles victory because I think everything would hit then, wouldn't it, EC? That's what I Game number 2, 8:15 p.m. Eastern time tonight. And this one I'm actually really looking forward to. Rams have been really good offensively. Bengals kind of stuttering to get out of the blocks. Joe Burrow's been hurt since the preseason. Don't know what he's going to bring to the table, if he's going to be at the table tonight. So here are the numbers, according to BetMGM. Do you have something there, Proppy?
I just wanted to mention Joe Burrow is expected to play tonight, and I'm not sure if you guys saw that news update.
Boom. There you go. So now Joe Burrow is expected to play tonight. That's next level in real-time capping right there. Thank you, Proppy. Now, the total, 45. I played it when it was 43, so it's gone up. Clearly, I'm moving the line. This game is fascinating, gentlemen. We need Coach Phil's keys to the game before we get to our picks. Phil, you're up.
Sure. So you got the 1-1 Rams coming into the winless Bengals, which who would have thought that? When you looked at this thing 3 weeks ago, like we talked about in the first game, you'd say, wow, this is a Bengals team that's loaded and they're going to run over the Rams. Not so fast, my friends. So looking at the Rams right off the bat, their key is to keep a clean pocket for Stafford. He's not a mobile guy. He doesn't like to run around. There's no zone read, so he's very different than the other two quarterbacks we're seeing in the early game. He's a traditional. There's not many guys like this left with the arm talent that's just absolutely sensational. He can throw some of the nicest footballs down the field that you're ever going to see. So we need to keep a clean pocket so we can get the ball out to Puka Nacua, who's got 25 receptions right now, one of the top stories in the NFL. The second thing will be the Rams defense. They're 6 overall. And those 6 over there. Raheem Morris is their defensive coordinator. He's going to want to rattle Joe Burrow and keep Mixon contained. Mixon's averaging 4.4 yards per carry. That's one of the few bright spots of this offense. So if they can continue to feed Mixon, if they can shut them down on the Rams side of things, then there could be a long night for the Bengals. Going to Cincinnati, all right, the whole story's been about Burrow's calf, all right? He's going to go tonight. That was a great insight. I think Sia said it first and probably just validated it. But again, just how many reps did he take? I know he practiced on Friday. We know he didn't practice in camp. I went and visited Zach Taylor. I was there for 2 days in Cincinnati and watched him in training camp. Joe wasn't practicing then. It's just difficult, when you don't have those reps. So is this the week that they're going to bust loose? They have too many weapons not to with Chase, Higgins, Boyd and Burrow, Mixon. So then we're looking at Cincinnati. Their second thing is the defense. Lou Anarumo was a defensive coordinator. All right, he's going to play a middle safety zone. All right, defense typically, but what they do very well is they do these fire zones. So they're going to look to bring everybody up of overload, and then drop 2, rush 2 additional guys, create some different pictures for Stafford, and try to get him off that platform, which we talked about last night. So this is a really interesting matchup right now to seeing if the Cincinnati Bengals can affect Stafford. That's going to be the most, and stop the run, and then ultimately take the football away.
Those are Coach Phil's keys to the game, powered as always by BetMGM. So, Counselor, I'm going to come to you first because Phil said something very, very interesting about Matthew Stafford. I really think that he's on pace to have a really good year and a really good night. And clearly, you believe that too. What do you got?
Yeah, I mean, I've kind of turned my perception of Matt Stafford around and these Los Angeles Rams, especially when you consider that the NFC is wide open. Like, I think the Rams are suddenly in that playoff conversation when we never would have thought that, much like Arizona. We never would have thought that, 3 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago. But the bottom line here is what I'm seeing from the Cincinnati Bengals, whether Joe Burrow plays or not, it just hasn't been great. I'm not necessarily saying that the Rams are better than the Bengals if they're all healthy, but we have Joe Burrow that's definitely unhealthy enough for the first 2 weeks to be really, really flat when it comes to Joe Burrow specifically. And then you look at the other side of the ball. What has the defense been doing? I thought that front 4, that front 7 was going to be very good. I thought the secondary would just be kind of middling, but they've played the Ravens and the Browns and they've given up plenty of points. Now you get Sean McVay coming in, you're giving him 3 points, and you've got Matt Stafford, who's not only found one favorite receiver in Puka Nacua, but Tutu Atwell's really showing up too. You get Cam Akers out of there. Kyron Williams looks to flash quite a bit in the receiving game and the rushing game. I just think you're in a spot where with an injured Joe Burrow, who we don't even know is going to play all 4 quarters, a guy who's been really inefficient through 2 weeks, and a defense that isn't looking like the Lou Anarumo defense that we typically see. Something's wrong here, and I'm just going to go ahead and take the points with the team where everything looks kind of right.
And I'm the type of bettor that I will pay the juice and buy a half or sometimes even a full point. I do it all the time because in the NFL, we see how the margins are so incredibly narrow. I could see a 3-point game tonight. I don't see a 4-point game. So I love this particular play. Proppy, when there are 2 of the great NFL cappers that are on the same player but a different prop, to me, I call that hashtag next level. EC, watch and learn. So Proppy, we're both on my new favorite name to say in the NFL. Let me check my notes. Puka. Let it just roll off your back. Puka. So why don't you give your play first, and I'll back you up with mine.
Coach, I want to also add that you've gotten some great closing line value on your play. It's moved up a full reception, Coach. So kudos to you for spotting that. But yeah, I'm going Puka Nacua over 68.5 receiving yards. I know this one is shooting up. Open, I think, at 64.5, up over 71, 72 right now on some books. I would still play it there. He is off to a historic start from both a usage standpoint and a production standpoint. Most yards, most targets, and most most receptions for a rookie wide receiver through 2 games. He's performing very efficiently, 3.06 yards per route run. The most impressive stat, though, he has a ridiculous 31% of his targets he has been the first read on. That is by far best in the NFL over Tyreek, over Justin Jefferson. You just do not see that for a rookie wide receiver. So super, super impressive stuff. The Bengals pass defense has not been great either. 20th in EPA allowed per dropback, 21st in defensive coverage grade as well. So yeah, I've just been blown away by Puka Nacua. I think you have to ride the hot hand here. He's obviously the engine of this Rams passing attack. Love him. Love all his props. Love the one coach is about to give out as well.
Yeah, I got to put my notes down because I literally had the same thing that probably just – I had the same thing written down. It's crazy how close we are to all that. So I'm going to go Puka with his receptions over 5.5. Now, at a lot of places, it's 6.5, and I like that because the juice is a lot lower. But it's not even going to matter. This man has 25 catches for 266 yards. Translate that. That's about 10 yards a catch, which means he's just hovering around the line of scrimmage, 5 yards, 7 yards. He's always going to be open. He's the safety blanket. 25 catches, and somehow this is only 6.5. And I saw somebody in the chat said, oh, he's got the hamstring injury. Heard nothing this week about that affecting him at all. We've heard nothing. Now, if it does, that's on us. But we've heard nothing. I love this play. And then I told you already, I played the Bengals and the Rams over 43.5 when it was 43.5. It's now up to around 45. I still like it. As long as you keep it under 47, I would still play that. Now, Phil, let me come back to you, and then EC, I'm coming to you and AB. Why are we sleeping on Puka? What has made him so good?
Oh, I mean, he's not. I'm not sleeping on him anymore. I mean, I think the reality is this. We've seen so many injuries this early in the season. All right, we've lost some stars. All right, and not having Cooper Kupp out there gives somebody else some opportunities that you might not ever know about. So just the opportunity for him to come in there and basically they're not going to change the plays. We've always talked about this. The plays are the plays, and the backups need to step up. But rarely does somebody step in the magnitude that Puka Nacua has. All right, like you just said, 25 receptions. Last week alone, I think he had 15 catches. I mean, 15 catches. I mean, this is historic. I've never seen anything quite like this in my life. And the name is cool. He went to BYU. I mean, everything about this. I mean, like you said, just ride the hot hand. We'll see what this kid has. And then think about when they get Cooper Kupp back, having both those guys on the field at the same time. It's going to be really a nightmare if you're going to play man-to-man coverage.
It certainly is. Now, let's go flip side. Let's go to the other side, the Cincinnati Bengals. They've had a lot of issues, and they've come out of the blocks literally laying not one egg, but 2 against in-division rivals, the Browns and the Ravens. So they've got some serious work to do. They can't afford to go to 0-3 and 0-2 in division. So, EC, you're on 2 plays on the Bengals side. Talk to me.
Yeah, Coach, I'm really surprised Joe Burrow's giving this a go tonight. I mean, it just shows the desperation for this team. I think if they were 1-1, I just can't see Burrow would have suited up tonight. But the fact that they're 0-2, and I mean, this is a must-win game for them. I think that's why he's going to give it a go, and you got to give the guy a lot of credit. But I think Cincinnati tonight is going to rely on their rushing attack, and that's Joe Mixon. So I'm rolling with his over 60.5 rushing yards at -110. I think this one's ticked up a little bit. I think it's like 50 or 63.5 now, somewhere in that ballpark. But this year, thus far, in the 2 losses, he's had 56 and 59. But the Rams just aren't very good on the rush defense. 64 by Ken Walker, and Seattle got blown out, and 116 last week to Christian McCaffrey. The Rams have allowed the 7th highest explosive run rate and the 8th highest yards after contact per attempt. They've also allowed a 6.9 yards per carry on zone runs. It's the most in the NFL. And by the way, half of the Bengals runs are zone runs. Mixon goes over this. And heck, I played up to 75, Coach. I think he gets 20 carries. And I mean, if he can't get to 75 yards on 20 carries, Bengals aren't winning this game. And I would lean Bengals, but I'm staying away from the spread. All right, we're going to try this one too. We need a plus money prop. I can't do that. I can't have a show without doing a plus money prop, I guess. Evan McPherson over 1.5 made field goals. So I went and did a little field goal comparison. AB had this in the first game, so I figured, all right, we got to do something in the second game. The Rams have given up 5 made field goals in 2 games. So this has cashed in both games thus far. Last year, they gave up multiple field goals in 10 games. McPherson last year did it in 11 games. It's all way better than 50%. We're getting plus money. Sounds good to me.
Let's have 150 yards for him. Just take it up to 150 yards.
No, I said he's going to have 75 yards, and he's going to lead to field goal. He's going to get stalled and they kick field goals. Then we're all good.
Am I not allowed to joke?
No, that's the second one
No.
that he just
No.
no-sold two of your jokes.
All serious. All serious.
Completely no-sold me. Oh, crazy. All right, AB, I'm coming to you, big boy, because you have a hardcore showdown tonight with buckets on maybe the most random showdown we've ever had in the history of the show. Turnovers. How did you come to a turnover showdown, and what's your play on this game?
Yeah, you know what? We didn't want to take advantage of buckets. If anybody watched the morning show today when he said he wanted the Bucs money line out there, right? So, look, we've got two plays here. And if anybody's noticed in the first 3 weeks of the NFL season, what have I been playing? All right, drive finishers, because it's the only thing to where if you can get it correct of how you think this game is going to go and how many drives each team is going to get, you have great opportunities of hitting these. All right, so let me get these up here. First, Rams-Bengals, total punts over 8.5. The Bengals in 2 games have punted 13 times. All right, and that's with Joe Burrow not as banged up as he could be tonight. And who knows if Burrow finishes the game. Now, the Rams really haven't punted all that much. They've been quite efficient. And here's a nugget for you, too. You know which team in the NFL has given up the fewest passing yards across the entire league?
Who?
The Los Angeles Rams. You know who's number 3? The Cincinnati Bengals. But we talk about bad data. Here's where it's bad data. The Rams have played the Seahawks and the 49ers, who just run the football. The Bengals have played the Browns and the Ravens, who run the football, right? Now, you look at the rushing that they've given up. The Rams average giving up 122 a game. Not bad. Bengals, almost 200. So there you go. Now, say that to say this. Rams-Bengals, total turnovers, over 2.5. It could be a little wild out there tonight. We're going to see which defense is going to give up passing yards, which one's a paper tiger, which quarterback. Well, first off, which quarterback for Cincinnati is going to be able to finish this thing, but they're going to put them in the air. The Rams are going to put them in the air because they're aggressive, playing aggressive, and these two teams fumble. Like they give up turnovers. So long story short, over 8.5 punts, over 2.5 turnovers. That's how we're getting down.
And is this the game with the showdown, or is it the other game?
No, it's the Eagles and the Bucs, which are the 2 top 5 turnover defenses in the NFL. So,
but we didn't want to take advantage of buckets. We didn't want to take advantage of them. By the way, my man Proppy's always moving the lines. JK says Puka's all the way up to 74.5 in the last couple of minutes. Proppy, is that still good for you?
Yeah, frankly, I'm comfortable with it, just considering his role in the offense. Obviously, easily cleared this in both previous performances. I like his chances tonight to easily eclipse 80 yards. I'm good playing it up to like 75, 76.5.
Boom. David says everybody laughs at AB, but we are all cashing. I saw a little stat the other day from SportsLine with the top cappers right now at SportsLine. Can you remind me, AB, who was the number 1 name on that? I can't remember.
Yeah, it was your benevolent king right here. We're going to be benevolent and stern. And, Coach, let me tell you this, all right? I received an email from Mean Gene Menez, who I believe he's like number 3 or number 4. EC's on there too. And Gene said, all it said was a picture of that, and it said, I'm coming for you. And I was like, dude, Mean Gene is the best. The absolute
Mean
best.
Gene is coming. You know who else I want to be coming tonight down the field? That's Matthew Stafford, counselor. 253 is all his number is. Explain to me why I don't bet the house on that.
Yeah, that's interesting. The only way you wouldn't bet the house on that is if you feel like this is going to be a conservative game script and you're going to see a lot of running. I mean, I could see with an injured Joe Burrow them trying to control the clock with Joe Mixon. I understand Joe Mixon historically hasn't been efficient, but his yards per carry so far are pretty good. And oh, by the way, the Rams defense, they do let up a decent amount with the run. So if it's me and I'm worried about my quarterback and I'm designing a game plan for the Cincinnati Bengals, I'm really trying to press Joe Mixon in the short area passing game. And if I do that and I'm just going first down and matriculating the ball down the field like that, well, then I'm sucking up a lot of clock. I got a lot of 6, 7, 8 minute drives. With all of that said, I don't know that that's how the game is going to turn out. I'm leaning towards your over, but it's just one of those situations where I'm not confident enough to actually take the over.
Okay. Now, I told you yesterday about the Packers. I'm kidding. They barely won. AB, go.
Well, let me say this, and it's a question. All right, and Phil spoke on it. One of his keys to the game was the Rams defense getting after Joe Burrow, right? I mean, you have to seriously protect him in this game. One simple sack can bring him right out of it, right? Like, that's what you have to be aware. So I want everyone to be cautious of any Joe Burrow props, cautious of wide receiver props. Again, Phil hit on it, the ripple effect of Joe Burrow in the injury and how it can affect wide receivers, running backs, the entire offensive game script of how the Bengals go about it. Like, are you going to bring in extra tight ends? You know what I mean? Like, you're going to have to pass protect Burrow so heavy. I'm fascinated by it. So, yeah.
Phil, go.
This term game script, is that because the writers are off of strike now, or did you talk to Arian Foster? Like, this is a new term for me. So I'm just curious about that a little bit. See ya.
Well, that's what we say on this side of it. You're always in the locker room getting ready for the game, and we're just throwing, phrases out there that everybody else uses.
We're definitely not going Arian Foster. Let me say that. We're not going. Even though my man's a Tennessee guy, and he was a hell of a running back there for a while, we're not going Arian Foster on that one.
Okay.
We are approaching the top of the hour. We have a few more minutes on this game, and then we're going to be doing a double gym. Will we have one person, two people, nobody getting into the club tonight? See, it's very, very lonely. Very, very lonely. But Proppy, I'm coming back to you because as I was looking earlier, because we didn't know what Joe Burrow was going to do, there were no Joe Burrow props. And for a lot of the receivers, it was just yardage and not necessarily receptions. When you have a situation like this, is discipline the key to not just say, I got to play Jamar Chase no matter what?
Yeah, absolutely. Obviously, so much hinges on Joe Burrow's health, whether or not he was even going to be active. We didn't know that until recently. And how hurt is he? How healthy is he? How effective is he going to be? I'm with you guys. I think it's going to be a fairly conservative game plan. I think we're going to see a lot of running from Cincinnati Bengals. They've been a lot more effective as a team running the football than they have been passing through the first 2 weeks of the season as well. The offensive line has been a lot better run blocking than in pass protection as well. And we're seeing Joe Mixon has been fairly effective as a running back. Also, if we look at this Rams defense, the real vulnerable part of the defense and their weakness has been run defense, 29th in EPA allowed per rush. So to me, we're looking at the path of least resistance that's going to be for this Bengals team to run on the Rams. So I don't really like a lot of Joe Burrow props. I also don't think I'm comfortable playing any of the receiver props. Not that they can't have big games, just not comfortable knowing that where Burrow's at, how healthy is he. Prefer to stay away personally.
Sometimes the best bets you make are the bets that you don't make. That will never get old. It will never go out of style. Proppy, quickly. Chat's asking over 23.5 on Stafford's completions tonight.
I think that's a really big number, actually. I like fading that. I like going under on that number. I think it's one of the best looks in that game.
Okay. EC, I'm coming to you. We talk about Tutu Atwell, but we haven't talked specifically about his numbers. 4.5 and 54.5 for a guy that in week 1 matched Puka with 119 yards receiving for both of them.
Coach, you just talked about the best bets you don't make. What was it? The best bets you don't, or the best bets are the ones you don't make sometimes? Yeah, this is one I'm just staying away from. I'll tell you, with this Rams offense, outside of Puka and maybe Kyron Williams, how do you trust these guys? Tyler Higbee, that was a bet that I looked at. I mean, you just don't know. Same with Atwell. I don't have a thought on it. Van Jefferson, pass. At this point, you bet Stafford props, you bet Puka props, and you bet Kyron Williams props. And by the way, I probably lean towards Kyron's over. Cincinnati's run defense has not been great thus far.
And I saw a couple people in the chat, and this is something you have to not buy into. I say it all the time. We do everything differently here at the brand. Somebody says, I get very nervous when everybody's on one player. It has nothing to do with it. Sometimes that's the right play. And I also don't, we've cashed Puka 3 weeks in a row. Can't do that again. Why? It drives me nuts when people say that. You can go back to the pay window over and over and over, and that's what this crew does. Oh, I just got a ding on my phone. No, it was not EC's Venmo yet, but it was telling me that it's 8 o'clock in the East or 7, depending on where you live, 4 o'clock in the West. See, I even got the time screwed up on the damn show, but I know this. I know it's top of the hour. I know it's time to have a little bit of fun, but see ya. It hurts me every time. It just hurts me every time. The competitor in me, the respect, always, but it hurts that you are the only one in the club yet. But tonight, Tonight, things will change. What do you like tonight, big boy? You get to go first.
By the way, I do think there's some really good plays here from other people. I do think I'm going to get joined in the club. However, if I'm not joined in the club, it's going to be because your first touchdown scorer is going to be Cade Otton with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Now, Proppy already went over, and I touched on it a little bit too, why we like Cade Otton tonight. And I just think he's going to be a nice little safety valve for Baker Mayfield, especially if that pass rush gets to Baker Mayfield as quickly as we think it might. I think Cade Otton, Chris Godwin, those are going to be guys that are going to be really interesting. I'll throw something out there. There will be a couple deep shots to Trey Palmer. He's like 40-1 if you just want to sprinkle that a little bit. My other play is Tutu Atwell at plus 1,500. If I'm being honest here, I would have liked to have taken Puka Nacua. Somebody beat me to the punch there, obviously. So Tutu Atwell, I do think is a nice 1B option. Obviously, he gets targets too. He is absolutely the 1B to Puka Nacua's 1A. Plus 1,500 is actually a pretty good number. So it wouldn't surprise me at all if he gets the first touchdown.
Clearly, the sports books believe the Bengals will be scoring first tonight. Otherwise, you'd never get Puka or Tutu over plus 1,000.
That's right.
That would never happen. But sometimes you get a little bonus. Proppy, let me come to you.
I am anxious and eager to meet my cousin Sia in the club. We went chalk. I also responded to that email in record time. Didn't I, gentlemen? Just want to point that out there. I was first. So, yeah, I'm going Devontae Smith at 10-1 odds. I know it's chalky. Couldn't turn it down. 45% air yard share, 2.62 yards per route run. So far, he's been the Eagles' top wide receiver. He has an elite target profile. Clearly can get behind the defense at pretty much any time and score a touchdown. And then we're going to go Puka Nacua at plus 1,200. I talked about this guy at length earlier. Super impressive, both from a results standpoint, a usage standpoint. He has been the first read on 31% of his targets. That is tops in the entire NFL. Love this number for him. Give me Puka. Give me Devontae. And I want to put this out there right now. I am aiming to become the first person to get into the club twice in one night.
I know what you're all thinking at home. Yes, we are that petty. Yes, we are that immature. Yes, we are not going to change. I love you, Proppy, for that. Now, you're not going to be the first one to get into the club twice on the same night. Because I'm going to be the first one that gets into the club twice on one night. And I'm going to do it with Baker Mayfield. All you haters out there, watch when they have 2nd and 5 from the 8, and he goes back to pass, and everybody is guarded on the outside, opening up straight up the middle to use those legs, and then he's just going to throw kisses to all the beautiful people in Tampa. At plus 2,500, you're welcome, America. Then game number 2, I'm going Tyler Boyd. He's done absolutely nothing through the first 2 weeks of the season. That means he's going to do something tonight. Now you say, Coach, but you like the Rams? I like the over. I respect the Rams and see his pick. Tyler Boyd gets it done. The Bengals score first tonight, and I cash both, and I throw kisses to Proppy as I do what he said he was going to do. Now, Phil, you clearly come to the right show because you're as immature as the rest of us. You just don't show it. You just don't show it. What do you like tonight?
Again, 2 non-objective picks. I saw both these guys in training camp. I love Godwin and Higgins, but the first one talking about Godwin, not only does he have play strength, the ability to run after catch, he's effective down in the red zone, but he signed a helmet for my son, Knox. You know what I mean? So you got to go with a guy like Godwin with that type of character. So we're going with Chris to score first for the Bucs. And then T. Higgins, one of my favorite human beings coming out of Clemson, just a real inquisitive person, asks a lot of questions, always trying to elevate his game. He's a big, tall receiver, about 6'4.5", most likely 6'5". And again, just a guy who's raising his game, who's in a contract year, right? And he's trying to fight for a new contract. And, you know, sometimes those guys tend to play a little bit more inspired, specifically down in the red zone, or fight for the extra yardage, trying to get a run after catch a big play, explosive touchdown, trying to get paid.
DJ Gumby says, Coach is rumored for a Royal Rumble return in Tampa 2024. I can tell you right now, this ain't ever going to happen. Ain't ever going to happen. Not unless they send me a check first. All right, EC. Now, have you noticed how Phil next level name drops guys in the NFL? I mean, you name drop being on an Arizona State podcast. He actually name drops guys that play in the league. Yeah. That's the difference between you. What's that face for? Don't you?
Arizona State.
Oh,
Arizona State, Coach.
My bad. Arizona.
That was Sia level disrespect. That was nice.
Yeah,
That was good.
Not
They never make a mistake. Everything is calculated. EC, you're up.
Well, you know what, Coach? Just for that, you should give me an honorary guest pass to the club because I did get Carolina's only touchdown last week. It was Adam Thielen, who I did have. So I should get a guest pass to go with Sia and see what the club's all about. Hey, you know what? We still got.
Phil said,
I got
quarter.
I should be able to look in the club doors at least. Anyways, let's go with Dallas Goedert at plus 1,200. We picked it last Thursday night. Jalen's got to do him a solid. I think it's either A.J. Brown or Dallas Goedert tonight at plus 1,200. I like that. We're going to roll with Tyler Higbee at plus 1,400. And I do have a stat for this one. So the Bengals defense only gave up 3 touchdowns to tight ends last season. Thus far through 2 games, a tight end has scored in each one of them against Cincinnati's defense. Let's make it 3 in a row. Rams get out 7-0. Tyler Higbee gets us on the board, and I finally get to see what the club is all about.
Yeah, you were never that guy in college that actually went to the club with the crew.
No, nope.
Hmm.
Always left on the outside.
Yeah, we always talked about guys like you. No, I'm AB, you're up.
That was good. All right, first off, we're going to take Kenneth Gainwell for the Eagles here, all right? Plus 1,100. Specifically for this, the Eagles offense, when they're down at the 2-yard line, 1-yard line, it's one of the few offenses where the defense focuses on the quarterback running instead of the actual running back here. I'm going to go with Gainwell. I think he's got a nice shot here. Number 2, in game number 2, Van Jefferson. 1, because the game was invented around Van Jefferson. Number 2, his dad, Sean Jefferson, used to come to the 24/7 Sports office and help your boy learn how to cut up film a little bit better. Super nice guy. And look, let me just say, anybody who's a wide receivers coach, just first-class individuals. They're just first-class individuals, right, Phil?
Sean's the best. You're right, though. Sean's the best.
He's awesome. He's absolutely awesome. And number 3, Van Jefferson, Middle Tennessee guy, man. Shout out Ravenwood High School. My man, Brentwood, Tennessee. There you go.
Joe just had the line of the discussion for the club. They will close the club when EC gets in. You see EC walking in, just a ghost town. There's nobody there. They told me it was open on Mondays. I don't know what happened.
Fire alarm, sprinklers.
You guys better hope I don't get in. I'm just telling you that. We're partying in the club. I got bottle service coming.
It's actually already there. You don't have to.
You don't bring your own bottle service.
You don't bring your own bottle.
I'll pay for it. No.
I was just about to say, he said bottle service. He didn't say anything about leaving a card for it. I'm kidding.
Okay. Well, I'm looking at my clock, and it's 7 minutes till the start of the first game. So we're going to go rapid fire. We're going to go around our best bets, and guess what? Then we're just going to start talking it up on social media and talking about all the tickets that we're going to cash. So, AB, if you don't mind, throw up the recap screen. We're going to go around. I need one line from each play from each of you. I will start Rams-Bengals over 43.5. I just think there's a lot of scoring tonight. Puka, he's going to continue to do what Puka does. Over 6.5, 5.5. It doesn't matter. He's going to get at least 10 tonight. See ya. Go.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Baker Mayfield over 226.5 passing yards, and I like the Rams plus 3. I also have a lean to Chris Godwin over 53.5 receiving yards, and look out for Trey Palmer long. 16.5 receiving yards is interesting to me as well.
I played all of that because I love the counselor. EC, go.
Jalen Hurts going deep. He might even do it on the first play of the game like Justin Fields did last week, Coach. Over 37.5 yards for his longest completion at minus 120. I love Proppy's picks, A.J. Brown and Cade Otton, which he'll get to. Just wanted to point that out. But I'm going to roll with Joe Mixon over 60.5 rushing yards. I think he gets at least 75 tonight. And Evan McPherson over 1.5 made field goals. I gave you the trends. Let's play it at plus money.
Can we just point out how good the show looks? AB taking so much time. Look at it. He even separated the callers for the picks for the games. By the way, I need you to hit that like button. I didn't tell you that today. I don't want to keep pounding you over the head with it. Hit the like button and also tell AB how good he does. This is next level kind of stuff. All right, Proppy, go.
Yeah, we're going to go A.J. Brown over 68.5 receiving yards. The squeaky wheel, I think, will get the grease tonight in Tampa Bay. Then we're going to go Cade Otton over 25.5 receiving yards. He is on the field for every single Baker Mayfield drop back. Very low number considering his usage and role in that offense. And then we're going to fade running back Rashad White under 48.5 rushing yards. The NFL's least efficient runner facing arguably the NFL's best run defense. And then we're going Puka Nacua over 70.5 receiving yards. He has been historically good throughout his first 2 games. I think he has another big game in his third game tonight.
No, we're going to cash it. Wouldn't it be great if we cashed it on the same play?
It would, Coach. Coach, and did I hear you say you have a showdown with EC tonight as well?
Oh, I do. Yeah, you missed it. He was talking trash about the Eagles, and I have the Bucs plus the 5.
All right. So
I gave you 6.5.
6.5.
I don't need your 5.
Right. He gave me 6.5.
Yeah.
That's very gentlemanly of EC. I also want to point out that we have a showdown as well, Coach. So EC and I are going up against you.
You and I, and what's our number?
5.
Because you're not an idiot. AB, go.
Well, speaking of that, Buckets gave me money line. No, I'm kidding. We didn't even take that one from him. All right, I've got Eagles-Bucs total field goals over 3.5 plus 110. Both teams counting this. We're going to see some run defenses put a stop in the red zone and force some probably unwanted short field goals. Also, Eagles-Bucs total turnovers over 2.5 minus 120. Rams-Bengals total turnovers over 2.5 minus 120. Rams-Bengals total punts over 8.5 minus 105.
Guzzle Money just said, "Oh, thanks, Coach. My dumb brain was trying to figure out the caller code for the recaps." Which game? Oh, just read the names. There it is. All right, we got 3 minutes. We got to make this quick. You know I like to ask my guys, what's the number one most important thing they're looking towards tonight? We use this information all the time. Proppy, start us off.
Yeah, this is just an amazing doubleheader. Tons of action in the Eagles game. I'm looking to see if they can get out to a big lead in the first quarter, something they did a lot last season. They have been unable to do it this year. Last year, it was on the back of explosive plays down the field. I think this matchup actually sets up nicely for their downfield passing, so I expect some shots to both A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith earlier. And I'm looking forward to seeing Joe Burrow play against Matt Stafford, 2 very good quarterbacks. Puka Nacua, we've talked about him all night, off to a just incredible start. Can't wait to see what he comes up with tonight.
What's that? Oh, yeah, Proppy's dead to me, of course. Of course he is. Counselor, go.
Listen, who's great in the NFC? I'm truly not sure. I mean, the Cowboys, no, not so much. The 49ers, listen, they had to handle the Rams last week, and the Rams were good against them. And then we have the Philadelphia Eagles. Are they going to get their offense going? There's just so many questions, even with some of these lesser teams like the Rams and company. I just think it's really interesting how this is all going to shake out.
I'll answer that last one for you. No. AB, go.
Yeah, Eagles first quarter. Do they get back to business? Do they look how they were last year when they were successful? Number 2, Joe Burrow, this injury, right? This thing could go sour and south with one hit. I'm fascinated to see how this game goes and how they protect him, how many tight ends are on in each play, and running back pass protection, how that affects the short yardage passing game to those guys as well.
I'm writing all this down. EC, say something smart, please.
No, I don't know if I'm capable of it, Coach. All right, listen, so Proppy crushed me in the fantasy league that we're playing against. AB's going to beat me in ours. So my only saving grace is to take your $100. Go Eagles minus 6.5.
Phil Z, bring us home.
I think the biggest thing in the first game is just finding out how good Tampa Bay really is. I mean, we know the Eagles are loaded. You know, the Ross did a great job with this roster over the years. All right, so we know that this is a good football team. So win or lose, all right, we know that Philadelphia is going to be back. This is a real litmus test to talk about how good Tampa Bay is. And then in the second game for me, it's and AB alluded to this, Joe Burrow, all right, and how do they protect him? Well, they have protected him by 97.5% shotgun plays this season, which is way more than they want to have. They want to be under center, running the stretch zone, which you can't eject yourself from underneath center if you have a bad calf. So they are trying to do some things to protect him. You're just seeing where he lines up. And if they can get this offense, it's such a high-powered, high-octane, star-studded offense that we all love to watch. It's the NFL's better when Burrow's slinging the ball to Chase. And can they get that going? I mean, that's just the facts.
He just gave you 3 or 4 things to look for during the game tonight. Live betting is always in play, so use this information.
That shotgun thing was so good. That's so good, man. I know.
I mean, I almost said it myself, but I said I'll give it to Phil. You know what I mean? It's just one of those things. Just one of those things. All right, I'm ready to watch some football and have a really good time. Gentlemen, you are the absolute very best. Everybody at home, we cannot do this without you. 2 big games tonight. So with all that being said, there's only one thing left to do. And I believe you all know what that is. Damn, I love doing this show. You've got your marching orders. Let's take all of these Monday night tickets straight, except for the Eagles, to the pay window. Brian Tiger, Lobo, Counselor, AB, EC, my man Filzy, and of course, Proppy 3 times. I am simply the coach, trying to keep this train on said track. We grind for you so we can win with you. Is what we're all about every single show, even prime time. What? Prime time. Early edge. Good luck.